morning. Welcome to the online class discussing MPC 005 Block 3. Is anybody present? If you are present, please let me know. Write your roll number, center code, and name. Roll number, center code, and name, so that we can give the required attendance to you. Yes, good morning, everybody. Please write your enrollment number, center code, full center code, and your Srichita, please write your enrollment number, name, and center code together. Only the center code will not do. Please write your enrollment number, study center code, and your name together. Otherwise, it will be difficult. Otherwise, you won't get your attendance. Okay, so today we'll be discussing the block 3 of MPC 005, which includes different types of research designs. Today, I will concentrate on the first two units of block 3, and tomorrow we will finish it. I think that will be justified. Uh, okay, let us begin with the meaning of research design. What is a research design? We have already discussed a lot about psychological research, and we have already mentioned research design as pre planning for the steps to be taken to conduct a research. Likewise, it is defined here that research design is the plan, structure, and strategy of investigation conceived so as to obtain answers to research questions and to control variance. These two things will be repeated in the course of your study. You have to keep it in your mind. It all started with the concept of variables: independent variable, dependent variable, and control, extraneous variable, which we need to control. And that is stated in the definition of research design, that the purpose of a research design, what is its purpose? To answer a research question. That means to determine the relationship between independent variable and dependent variable. That is the first part. And the next part is to control variance. We have already discussed that other than independent variables, there are many variables present in the research situation. Unless we control them, they will also exert effect like independent variables on the dependent variable, and we cannot be able to uh, uh, determine the effect of the particular independent variable we wish to study separately. So, we need to control other extraneous variables other than independent variable, and then only we will be able to determine the effect of independent variable. Now, there could be more than one independent variable in a research situation, particularly in a behavioral and social science like psychology, which is too much related to the life outside laboratory. We always try to infer, we always try to get some conclusion which is applicable outside the laboratory. It is not like the research of physics, chemistry, and like pure science. It is always an applied science. The sometimes we focus more on the theoretical part, then it is called psychology only. And when we put more emphasis on applied part of the subject, then we call it applied psychology. Otherwise the entire subject is applied, unlike other science subjects. There could be pure chemistry, pure physics, pure maths, etc., but as such there is no pure psychology. Pure psychology means it is always applicable to human behavior outside a laboratory situation. Okay. Now, let us come back to research design. So, when we are planning a research for a subject like psychology, we need to consider the fact that it is not the uh, study of only one variable. We think that we are studying the effect of independent variable, but too many variables are present in one situation, one research situation, and we need to control them. Therefore, controlling of variance is very important for our research program, for our research project. I am telling these things repeatedly because when you will conduct the dissertation paper, you need to remember all these things. Otherwise, you will face difficulty in conducting that project. Okay, a traditional research design is a blueprint or detailed plan as to how a research study is to be completed. We have discussed it repeatedly. This is what is telling here. And it is the strategy. Strategy means uh, methods to be used to gather and analyze data. In other words, strategy implies how the research objective will be reached and how the problems encountered in the research will be tackled. Look, there is always a twofold uh, purpose or twofold objectives, or uh, in that way there is two aspects of definition. What are those? One is to reach the research objective as economically as possible. Economically means economy of time, economy of money, and economy of energy. When we are carrying out a project, we need to do this with minimum of cost and producing maximum of effect. So we need to plan it beforehand. When you go to a tour, suppose you all go to some tours during vacation, before going to a tour, don't you plan it? You first you select the place where you want to travel, then you select in which way you are traveling, by plane, by train, by car, how how many hours it is taking, how many days it is taking, what particular things you are going to visit during your tour, what particular experiences you want to have during your tour, that you all plan. Likewise, before conducting a research, you have to plan. Okay, now come to the function of a research design. What it is said here, what could be the functions of a research design? On the basis of above definition, it can be said that the function of research design again is twofold: to provide answer to research question and to enable the researcher to answer research question as validly, accurately, and as economically as possible. That's what I am telling. As during a vacation, as during a tour, you need to first, you need to chalk out the plan that where you are going to visit, how you are going to visit, where will you stay, how will you go to different places, like that. And you just keep some strategies that if some problems occur, how you are going to handle them, how you are going to tackle them. Same is applicable for research. According to Carlinger 2007, the research design has two basic purposes: to provide answer to research question and to control variance. That is, they have repeated it, but there is a purpose of repetition also. so that you just keep it in your mind while doing the actual project. Many of you come and say, I don't know anything about the project, how can I deal with that? So this is the answer. If you study this paper properly and fully, then you will be able to handle a project by your own. Now, the main function of research design is to apply max min con principle. That means maximizing systematic variance, controlling extraneous variance, and minimizing error variance. Look, they have discussed about systematic variance. What is systematic variance? You know, variable, the term variable itself means which varies. When I am applying an independent variable, there will be a variation in dependent variable. Before applying the independent variable, the dependent variable or the behavior of the individual is at one level. After the application, the level of behavior will definitely change. If not change, then we say that there is no effect of independent variable. So there will be a variance due to independent variable which is systematic. Suppose uh, none of us is free from anxiety. None of us has zero anxiety. We all have a certain level of anxiety. Now, if I induce a situation through instruction, uh, which will produce anxiety within the participant. Suppose I say that if you are not going to participate in this research, you will be uh, what to say, not punished actually. You will not get the benefit of something. So, after listening to this instruction, the anxiety level will arise automatically. If that particular benefit is essential for the participants, the anxiety level will increase. So, there is a systematic variance. The level of anxiety will increase after this instruction. Uh, so, in this way, we can vary the dependent variable. Suppose there is a mental illness condition. Uh, I am introducing a particular drug, means drug is not, I am not indicating the substance abuse or something, the substance for addiction, not that. Drug means medicine here. So we are introducing, if the researcher introduces a particular drug, say drug 1, with the objective of reducing the symptoms of that illness. So if the symptom reduces, there is a variation in the condition of the participant who has that mental illness, and that variation is systematic. It will always get reduced. So, systematic variance always occur through manipulation of independent variable, and which produces variability in the dependent variable. Now, there are other variables, as I have said, that may influence a dependent variable, and we need to control them, those extraneous variables. That is the con part, this controlling of extraneous variance, and minimization of error variance, that means which occur due to the variables that are not controllable by the experimenter. Me as an experimenter or a researcher cannot control the what to say, the disposition, the personality disposition of the participants. Somebody has may have the disposition of acting quickly. Somebody may have the disposition of acting slowly. I can't control that. That will produce, invariably produce some error. What I can do? I may increase the number of treatment, experimental treatment. I may increase the number of participants so that the error occurs in the process get neutralized. Some error, some in some cases there will be overestimation of some condition, in some cases there will be underestimation of that condition. But if the number of participants are quite large, then there will be some overestimation, some underestimation, and ultimately they nullify each other. So, in that way, we can minimize error variance. This Max-Min-Con principle is very important for any kind of research. Now, let us come to the basic terminology in research design. The first most important terminology term that we use is factors. An independent variable of the experiment is known as factor of the experiment. An experiment always has at least one factor. Otherwise, it won't be an experiment, you know. Uh, if there is no independent variable, how can I see the variation in the behavior before and after, before the application, before the introduction of independent variable and after the introduction of independent variable? Next term is levels. Levels means uh, it is the particular value of an independent variable. I may introduce a sound uh, as independent variable. Uh, suppose the effect of sound on the level of aggression or irritation of the participants. Now I may produce a low volume sound, then I may increase the volume gradually in order to find the varied effect of sound on the aggressive behavior of the participants. Now that I am now that I am applying different volumes of sound, each volume, each value, they always have a quantified value, that how much intense the sound will be in their particular units. So each unit, each value will be termed as level. The next important term is treatment. It refers to a particular set of experimental condition. When I am introducing a particular value of independent variable to a particular group of subject, it is referred as treatment. There is single factor design, as we will discuss just after these points, and there will be factorial design. That means there will be more than one factors or one more than one independent variable will be present. This far, do you have any question before going to single factor design? Do you want to ask anything? Okay, so you don't have any question. Please, all of you, put your enrollment number, study center code, and your name in full. Otherwise, you will be marked absent. Okay, Tenzin said that, ma'am, please repeat twofold objective. The objective or function or purpose, what you have said, whatever you say. First one is to reach the research objective. That means the research goal. That means to establish the relationship, if any, between independent variable and dependent variable. And another objective is to um, control, to control the variance occurred. Now I have discussed three types of variance just now: systematic variance, extraneous variance, and error variance. We need to control them by using three different principles: maximization of uh, systematic variance, controlling of extraneous variance, and minimization of error variance. I think that is clear. Ankita Bishwash, please put your enrollment number and study center code along with your name together. Otherwise, we can't locate you. We won't be able to locate you. Okay, so let us move to single factor design. As you know, factor means independent variable. So in single factor design means there is only one independent variable. And such single factor designs can be classified again into two categories: between group design and within subject design. Between and the effect of different conditions on the subjects are computed. And in this way, we may have two randomized group design or multi group design. In two randomized group design, as the name suggests, we randomly assign the subjects into two groups. For this type of design, the experimenter first defines the independent variable, dependent variable, and the research population. An example is given in your study material. An investigator wants to see the effect of knowledge of result on the rate of learning of school students in a particular city. Then the research population is school students of a particular city. Knowledge of result is independent variable and rate of learning is dependent variable. Then the researcher randomly selects a sample of 100 students from a city, and then he will randomly divide these 100 students into two groups, with 50 students in experimental group and 50 students in control group. The random assignment of the subjects into two groups can be done by various methods. Either we may take the help of random number table. That means there is a already established random number table. We just take the last one or last two digits of that numbers in a consequence and take that number of participant include that number of participant with that serial number into our um sample. Suppose I am just making it clear again. Let's suppose there are 1,000 subjects that constitute my research population. Now we just give each of them a serial number. And now using the table of random number, the last digit or last two digits, we are picking we will pick that particular number of that particular individual with that assigned number. Suppose the last two digit is 43. After that, the last two digit is 57. After that, the last two digit is 13. We will pick up those individuals with those number assigned from the population to make a sample. We also may draw, this is applicable for a large sample. If there is large population, if the population is relatively small, then we may use the fishbowl technique, where we put all the numbers in a sheet and then tell a blindfolded person to draw the particular cheat, and the number that is written on the cheat, that number of individual will be included in the sample. Well, after that, what can I do? We may divide the subject into experimental and control group. What is control group? That group where there is no independent variable. That will also be considered as a treatment. Why? Because zero level is also a level of IV. In that sense, control group will also act as a treatment. Now, in control group, I am not introducing any independent variable, and in experimental group, I may introduce, or I will introduce actually, some independent variable. The details procedure is given in your study material. There is not much time to discuss those things. There are examples given there. You may study from this book. After the experimental group receives the particular independent variable, in this case, the independent variable is knowledge of result. Suppose one group, the control group, will not receive any knowledge of result, any feedback regarding their learning, and the experimental group will receive knowledge of result of their learning. Now, the scores of the both groups will be recorded and subjected to statistical analysis. If the statistical test reveals that two groups differ significantly on dependent variable, then it can be concluded that the difference is how it is manipulated. In one condition, I haven't introduced the IV. In another condition, I have introduced it. And if there is significant difference in the rate of learning, then it can be said that the knowledge of result definitely has an effect on the rate of learning. If the rate of learning of experimental group, that means in the group where the knowledge of result is introduced, is applied, if the rate of learning is more in that group than that of the control group, then we may conclude that the knowledge of result facilitated the learning. Then we may apply t-test or Mann-Whitney u-test. You will read it in MPC 6 about the statistical techniques. So when you are preparing a research design and planning the factors and levels and treatments, you also need to plan the statistical analysis to be employed to those groups. There may be again more than two randomized group design or multi-group design. There could be two or three experimental groups and one control group. The process will be same otherwise. Then comes matched group design. Sometimes it is not possible to select the participants randomly. There may be some technical difficulty, there may be some other kind of difficulty. Then matched group design can be applied. This is also known as randomized block design. How and why? In matched group design, all subjects are first tested on a common task. Suppose we are studying the effect of learning hours on uh, the scores of annual examination. So, uh, the study hour, it is the independent variable, and the uh, scores in annual examination is dependent variable. In that case, the most relevant variable uh, in this respect, which is extraneous to this particular experiment, is the intelligence and motivation level of the participants. So, if we want to focus on the study hour as independent variable, we need to establish first that all the participants have same intelligence level and same motivation level. That we have to confirm before applying the independent variable. Or before, here I am not applying, actually study hour I cannot apply. Here I am selecting the participants with particular study hour. We may select a group of subjects with who study for 7 to 8 hours, and one group of subjects who study 3 to 4 hours. Those are my levels of IV. That means levels of factors. But before that, I need to match the total participants for their intelligence score and the score for motivation. That is why it is said here, the the groups thus formed, uh, it is said that all subjects are first tested on a common task and then they are formed into groups. The groups thus formed are known as equivalent groups. Subsequently, the different values of the independent variable is introduced to each group, and the mean scores of the dependent variable is taken of both the groups. The matching variable is usually different from the variable under study. That is already I have said. That variable in my study, the independent variable is study hour, and the dependent variable is scores in annual exam. But the matching variable is intelligence and motivation. They are different from the variable under study, but is in general related to it. That's why those are relevant. The two groups are not necessarily of the same size, although there should not be large differences in the number of subjects of two groups. There may be 10 subjects in one group and 12 in another, but not 10 in one and 20 in the other. This we have to keep it in our mind. Now, match. There are two methods of matching. The way we match subjects, there are two techniques which we may apply for doing this match. One is matching by pairs. In this type of research, matching is done initially by pairs so that each person in the first group has a match in the second group. For example, uh, researcher wants to study the effect of two teaching methods on mathematical achievement of the ninth grade students. Then the subject's intelligence and academic achievement was taken as matching variable. All the participants were administered mathematical academic achievement tests and scores were obtained. This is before introducing the teaching method. First, we need to take their achievement test and we must obtain their scores. For instance, if two subjects record 80, then one subject is placed in one group, another is placed in another group. So, by the score of mathematical achievement, two subjects are matched and placed in two groups. One group in this way, I am just classifying or I am just assigning subjects into two groups, first group and second group. First group, maybe the first group is exposed to teaching method 1 and the second group is exposed to teaching method 2. If for instance two subjects scores 80 that I have said, then in this way two groups are formed. One group is taught by one method and another group is taught by another method, and academic achievement scores of both the groups are compared again after introducing the teaching method. Then again their academic achievement scores are compared. uh, there may be some difficulty in getting pairs. It may be impractical or impossible if there are not many participants in the sample. How can we match one subject to another in two different groups? Then what we do? We match in terms of mean and ST of the group. Uh, if there is one group, if the mean and ST of the group total group is computed, then we may separate them into control group and experimental group. Or we may do like this: the matching variable is somewhat related to dependent variable. For example, intelligence is a matching variable and the researcher obtain the mean and ST of intelligence scores of two groups. Like this, the subject or the participants may be matched on age, educational level, learning ability, and so on. So, this is about matched group, randomized group, all these things. Now, let us come to the within subject design. Within subject design is also known as repeated measure design because same individual is treated differently at different times and we compare their scores after they have been subjected to different treatment conditions. For example, let us say a researcher wants to study the effect of colors on reaction time. The investigator selects three colors, say red, green, and yellow, and 10 subjects are selected for the experiment, for example. Then, this same group of subject, if they are exposed to three, all three colors, all of the subjects, then this will be called within subject design or repeated measure design. 10 subjects will be exposed to red light. Those same 10 subjects will be exposed to green light and then subsequently yellow light. Again, within subject design is further divided into two categories. One is two conditions within subject design and another is multiple condition within subject design. So just notice that both in case of between subjects and within subject designs, there will be either two conditions or more than two conditions. Why this classification is made? Because if there is two conditions, be it within subject design, be it between group design, the statistical treatment will be different. And if there is multiple condition, then the statistical uh, treatment will be of different kind. That is why this classification has been made. Now let us come to the two conditions within group design. It is the simplest design. The two conditions are labeled as condition 1 and condition 2. All subjects experience both the conditions. Let us say the researcher wants to compare the reaction time of red and green color. We select 10 subjects from the population of interest, and the reaction time of all the subjects are noted for the two colors. Then if there is difference, then we can say that this difference in reaction time is due to the difference of the color of stimuli. Now, despite its simplicity, this design is not used as often as one might expect because many experimenters involve more than two conditions, and there is possibility of carryover effect from one condition to the other. What is carryover effect? That means you are giving data for red light. After that, after the required number of data are collected for red light, the data for green light will be taken. Now the subject has already developed a set, a reaction set towards red light. He may carry over that particular set to the reaction time of green light also. So there is a possibility and we need to control that. In multiple conditions, within group design, naturally there are more than two conditions. Usually the researcher wants to compare several variables or treatments and ascertain their effectiveness. Uh, and in that way, when we are using multiple values of independent variable, that means we are maximizing the systematic variance, the first one of Max-Min-Con principle. The more the number of independent variables, the more the number of factors, the more the number of levels, the more the systematic variance. So this is a way of maximizing systematic variance. Why? Why we try to maximize? In order to, of course, in order to minimize the error variance, of course, and also to determine the shape of the function that relates the independent and dependent variables. For example, a researcher may want to know how the sensation of brightness increases with the physiological intensity of a light. We all know about um, the procedure of sensation. What happens when I am applying a particular type of stimulus, a particular type of sensation will be produced. And if the nature of stimulus changes, the nature of sensation will also be changed. And that is how, if we increase the physiological intensity of light, that means the brightness of a light, then the brightness of sensation will also increase. That is the hypothesis. For this, the researcher may present each of several intensities of light to a group of subjects. From the responses to the various intensities, the researcher can plot the relation between intensity and brightness. There are many. I have to complete at least 2 units within the stipulated time. And what can be done actually? Another thing I just want to mention here, that the concept of controlling order and sequence effect in within subject design. Just now I have discussed about carryover effect. So in order to nullify that carryover effect, what we can do, we may counterbalance. We may use a particular controlling technique which is called counterbalancing. Now it can be controlled by randomization, which can be used when each condition is given several times to each subject. Let us take the example of red, green, and yellow lights again. Now we may give at a stretch red light. We may apply red light at a stretch for 10 times to each subject, green light 10 times to each subject, and yellow light 10 times to each subject. That may produce a carryover effect. But if I randomize the order of the variables of those three variables, red, green, and yellow, then this we can expect that this carryover effect will not occur. For example, if there are four conditions A, B, C, D, and each one is to be presented twice, we may use the following sequence: BCAD and ADCB. Look, in each case, each alphabet representing each condition is occurring two times, and each subject is exposed to a particular condition two times. But we are changing the order of presentation. Suppose in the first instance, if we take this again the example of color, then the variable will be ABC. We may apply in the order ABC, that means once red, once green, once yellow. Then again CAB, that means yellow, red, and green. And then BAC, that means green, red, and yellow. Just listen to my example later, then you will be able to understand this fully, I assume. So this is the one thing you need to know about single subject, single within subject design, single factor or multiple factors within subject design. Let us move to unit 2. We don't have much time. Uh, unit 2 is factorial design. Till now, we were discussing about single factor. That means only one type of factor introduced in the experiment. Light, only one factor. There are different levels in it by quality or by intensity. I may change the quality of the light, that means once I may give green, once red, and once yellow. Or we may change the intensity of red light. We may give red light in various intensity, or green light in various intensities, or yellow light in various intensities. The factor is single light. But in case of factorial design, there is definitely more than one factor. It is said here, a factorial design is one in which two or more variable or factors are employed in such a way that all possible conditions of selected values of each variable are used. According to this definition is given by McBurney and White in 2007. According to Singh, that means A.K. Singh, that is one staple book for your research methodology. So in A.K. Singh, he gave the definition in 1998. He said that factorial design is a design in which Selected values of two or more independent variables are manipulated in all possible combinations so that their independent as well as interactive effect upon the dependent variable may be studied. Now we will require one example. Let me give it. Before that, here also certain terms are particular terms are used in factorial design. First term is factors. In single factor design, we consider only one factor, and here factors, the term factor is broadly used to include the independent variable, and since there is more than one independent variable, the term is used here is factors. That is manipulated by the investigator in the experiment, or that is manipulated through selection. Um, Now let us come to the example. Suppose you are studying the effect of knowledge of result on male and female um, students of class 9. So one um factor is knowledge of result, which will be introduced by the experimenter, and another factor is the gender of the participants. That means male or female. Now that there will be four conditions according to um, what to say, according to the two factors used. Um, so the conditions will be like this: female subjects with no knowledge of result, female subjects with knowledge of results, male subjects with no knowledge of results, and female subjects with male subjects with knowledge of results. So there will be four conditions ultimately. This is the way we can design a factorial research. This is the simplest possible factorial research design I have given the example. This is called 2 into 2 factorial design. That means there are two factors. One is knowledge of result, another is gender. One is introduced or manipulated by the experimenter, another is selected. And there are two levels for each: no knowledge of result and knowledge of result for the factor 1, and male and female for the factor 2. Now let us discuss another term in the used in the factorial design, that is main effect. This is the simplest effect of a factor on a dependent variable. Effect of the factor alone averaged across the level of other factors. That is, if we want to find the effect of knowledge of results across the total sample, irrespective of male and female, that will be one main effect. And if we want to find the knowledge, that is the effect of gender, if we want to find the effect of the knowledge of result, then we will consider both the gender. And if we want to find the effect of gender, then we may consider both no knowledge of result and knowledge of result condition. So each time it will be the main effect. And another term that is used in this factorial design is interaction. The conclusion based on the main effects of two independent variables may be at times misleading unless we take into consideration the interaction effects of two variables also. That means the interaction of gender and knowledge of result. If we put this together, then another kind of result another kind of effect we may see. What are the kind of interaction, what are the types of interaction that may take place in factorial design? It can be antagonistic interaction, that means main effect is non-significant and interaction is significant. That means there is no effect of knowledge of result and no effect of gender. Mm, Suppose the dependent variable there, the rate of learning. There may be synergistic interaction when higher level of one independent variable enhances the effect of another independent variable. That is not applicable for this particular example, but in other cases it may happen. And ceiling effect interaction, when the higher level of one independent variable reduces the differential effect of another variable. All these types of interaction are common in psychological research, and we may use randomization here also for allocating treatment to the groups, and we may also use blocking. This is the procedure. This is not blocking in WhatsApp. This means creating different blocks of subjects, of participants, by which experimental units are grouped into homogeneous cluster. Remember matching. In matching also we can create block of subjects, block of participants, to whom we may assign the treatment randomly. There could be simple two-factor design. Just now I have said about the knowledge of result and gender, and there could be more than two-factor design. Um, there could be within subject factorial design. That means the same group of subjects can be used for different types of conditions. Suppose one example is given in an experiment given by Gordon and Badley, 1975. They decided to use a very particular population, deep sea divers. The persons who dive professionally, they dive in the deep sea water. The divers were asked to learn a list of 50 unrelated words either on the beach or under 10 feet of water. The divers were then tested either on beach or under sea. So there the subject group of subject is same, deep sea divers. But there are two variables. One is learning in two conditions, another is recall in two conditions. So there can be four experimental conditions: learning on the beach, recalling on the beach, learning on the beach, recalling under sea, learning under sea, recalling on the beach, and learning under sea and recalling under sea. So in this way, factorial design can be applied to within subject. This is a typical example. You can also use it elsewhere. And there could be between subjects factorial design, definitely, where you are randomly assign subjects to different types of treatments after matching them, creating blocks that we can use. And there could be mixed factorial design. Uh, Sometimes the researcher uses mixed factorial design. Researcher has two independent variable A and B. Variable A is the within subject variable, maybe, and variable B is the between subject variable. For example, we want to study the effect of gender and alcohol on risk taking while driving. So the dependent variable is risk taking, and the independent variables are gender and alcohol consumption. Now the gender is a variable that is selected, like I have said in the knowledge of result and gender example. So an alcohol consumption can be operationalized. We decided to operationalize the independent variable alcohol level by having 4 concentration levels. Then we decide to have each subject observed in each alcohol condition. So in this way, we can create another type of factorial design. These factorial designs enable the researcher to manipulate and control 2 or more independent variables simultaneously. This is one advantage of factorial design. It is more precise than single factor design. We can find out the independent or main effect of independent variables and interactive effect of 2 or more independent variables. And the experimental results we obtain are more comprehensive, and it can be generalized to a wide range due to manipulation of several independent variables in one experiment. It gives us the possibility, it gives us the scope to maximize systematic variance. And that is why the result we obtain can be generalized to a larger condition, to a larger group. But definitely there are limitations of factorial design as well. Sometimes when we have more than, especially when we have more than 3 independent variables, each with 3 or more levels, that then the statistical analysis become very complicated. And when the number of treatment combinations or treatment becomes too large, it is difficult to get a homogeneous group because the sample will have to be large for accommodating all the treatment conditions. So that was about the first 2 units of MPC block 3. We will meet again tomorrow with the last 2 units of block 3 of MPC 5. What you have said, have you said something? Are we going to have classes on MPC 2, 3? MPC 3 is complete. I have already taken MPC 3 classes in my study center, definitely. I don't know from which study center you belong. Okay. So, let us end here for today. Anything else you want to say? Oh, so sorry. I don't teach in Muralidhar College, so I can't say anything about it because I have already completed MPC 3 in my study center offline. Thank you, students. No, dear, I don't have any classes recorded as well because I took offline classes. Example of mixed factorial design, just now I have said. One is alcohol consumption, another is gender. Gender can be selected, male, female, like that. And the level of alcohol consumption you can vary by introducing alcohol intake. No, I don't have any classes recorded for MPC 3. Okay. Just go through your study material. I guess you will be able to understand the rest of the your study material. Okay, so thank you. End for today's class. Let us again meet tomorrow with the last 2 units of MPC, block 3 of MPC 5, and then we will proceed to block 4. Thank you.